Good morning, everyone. This is Mary from Rocky Mountain Gardens, and I thought today I would give you an overall view of my backyard garden. My last garden tour I showed more of my individual plants, but I thought I would show you just how my garden is laid out. And I have a summer cold, sadly, so sorry about that. This garden here is next to my porch, my back porch, and it swings around this way. And I have a nice little patio here for dining outdoors. And this is also where I have my fountain, which provides that nice water sound in the garden. And then over here, I just wanted to share with you my Japanese tree lilac, which is in bloom right now. It has these gorgeous white, tiny white flowers in bunches. This is a tree I do recommend. It's a small tree, does well in our high altitude, dry climate, as long as you water it, but it does look quite pretty with the blooming in early summer. So if you swing around my patio here, you can see I have gardens surrounding the patio. And then going in this direction, I have a pathway to the other side of my yard. This right here is my shade garden that I showed in another video with my spring snow crabapple tree here. And then if we follow this pathway, here I have my porch swing. And my bird bath with lots of plants surrounding it. Many of my plants are later spring bloomers, so this area here gets shade most of the day. This part of this garden actually does get some great midday sun, so I do have some nice sun-loving perennials in there, but they're not quite blooming yet. Over here, as I said, is my porch swing. And then here I have my garden that is in front of my porch, and you can get a little look at my porch here. And then I have this little side garden that I have shown you in the past. And we swing around here, and I have gardens that follow all the way along down this path on the side. And here I have a little garden area where I am trying to restore. In the past, I've had huge Monarda, a variety that was called Violet Queen, growing here, and it was simply gorgeous. And it has died out, so I bought all new plants, and I am going to try to regrow that space. Now, I like to have my garden with little areas, you know, some people call them garden rooms. So I do like to do that. So if you move down to the back of my yard here on this path, this is where I do have in this area here another little path that leads over in that area, and this is my raised bed for veggies, and I do have quite a lot growing in there now. It's coming along. Here's a nice little swing in the shade that I enjoy. It's great to sit here and look at my garden from this perspective. I enjoy that. And then this little room I've made for my grandsons to play in with their own little park bench and the fairy gardens that I've done. And then I have a path that moves along this direction. And I can give you a look at my yard. So this is looking at the yard from the back. And you can see the various pathways. And you may have noticed I don't have very much grass in my yard at all. I just have that small patch in the front of the yard by my porch. And everything else in my yard is actually on a drip system to save on water, of course. You can see I have some Virginia creeper growing along this little stone wall, which I do enjoy. Then, coming this way, I have another shade garden that I believe I've shown you in the past, in this lovely Wichita blue juniper with this sort of bluish foliage. And then my autumn purple ash tree. And then if you come along here, you can see my garden shed, which I have decorated since the winter. And I've put up some cute little hangings. Let's see if I can get a better view. The sun at this time of day is coming from the east and it's really shining. But here's my garden shed, a little hanging basket there. And here I've planted, in this container, I've actually planted a boxwood. And it is a zone 4 boxwood, so I'm hoping it will be able to overwinter just fine in that space. Now here's the other path that runs sort of in the middle of my garden. This is my basket of gold, which was blooming so much earlier, and it's all done. And then I have a peony that I've just planted, my globe blue spruce. And this gravel area here is where I always place my hammock. It's a great place for anyone to come and relax in the garden and enjoy the view. And then behind the hammock, I have quite a few plants growing. This is the peony that I had shown you earlier, and it bloomed gloriously. But I'll show you a picture here of what the blooms look like since it's all finished blooming now. But I have my yarrow ready to have blooms almost pop open. My lilies are going to be coming along. The Joe Pye weed, you see that almost looks like a bush there growing next to my fence. That is Joe Pye weed, and it will grow to be as tall as that fence, if not taller. It's amazing. It has gorgeous blooms. I'll show you them later in the summer. And we swing around here by the hammock, and I have another little path coming through there. Here's my large juniper. Can't see it, it's quite tall. And come down here, and I have some different plants growing along this path. Some of them are volunteers. Both the lamb's ear and these little red flowers on this plant here, it's called Nautia. They are quite pretty. And this is a wonderful xeric plant. It volunteers, so you get more of them, and it's very xeric. These are growing here, but they are not on a drip system at all. And I have some veronica starting to bloom here. And a little bit of bloom still on my Jupiter's beard. And then this is a type of Artemisia called Powys Castle. This is very xeric also, and it's really beautiful. It has beautiful grayish foliage. My Carl Forster feather reedgrass is coming up. My irises are almost done blooming. I have one little bloom left there in the background, you can see. And this area here is where I took out most of the mugo pine that was growing in this space, and it created a large garden area, and I have been adding plants to it. I have these wine cups growing, which will start blooming fairly soon. Some lavender. I've transplanted some plants from other areas of my garden. It looks a little bare still, but it will fill in, and I'll be adding more plants during the summer. In the background there you can see red twig dogwood. This is the pure green version of red twig dogwood, whereas here we have the variegated red twig dogwood, which is so pretty. And then come around here and you can see the shade garden again. And I'll walk and step up my little wall here. Here you see a good view of the shade garden. I love this blue hosta that's growing here. I don't know the variety, but it has been very healthy and so pretty, such a contrast. And this great curly-leafed red heuchera. And so then I'm going to walk around over back on this same path to my side yard. So this is the path that we took to the back of my yard here. But we can also follow it in the other direction to my side yard. Now my side yard is one of the most difficult places to garden in. I actually get only about 1.5 hours of sunlight in this yard each day, because I'm so close to my neighbor's house and the roofs block the sun. So I have planted shade plants here along this fence, and they have been doing fairly well. It's hard because they kind of get fried in the middle of the day when the sun is straight overhead. This is my honeysuckle that has started to bloom. So this is one of the most difficult places to garden that I've ever encountered. And I do have hail damage. We had a hail storm last week. So my poor little hosta here has its little holes in it. Thankfully, our hail was not as large as in some other parts of town. I also had built a compost bin, which you can see is empty. I haven't started filling it yet, but it's one of my next jobs is to begin composting. And on this side I have hostas also, lots of hostas. And a little dwarf Alberta spruce that's limping along. It has a hard time because I think it just doesn't get quite enough sun here. But we'll see. We'll see how it survives. I also have this poor little, let's see, it's a skyrocket juniper, which should grow tall but very narrow. Perfect for this space. However, I also think it doesn't get enough sunlight to be really thriving. So, and then I haven't really shown you these pine trees here that grow on the side of my yard. They are just simply spectacular. I'm backing up here so you can see them. There are two of them. They're quite tall and so healthy. They're Vanderwolf pines, and I think they're the most beautiful pine trees ever. See if I can come up here and give you a close-up of the needles that grow on this tree. They are blue and green combination. Just simply gorgeous. So let's see if I can show you the way they are a combination of both blue and green needles in each bundle on this pine. It's just so pretty. This one has been so healthy, and I think it's fairly xeric for our area, and does of course well in the cold. It can take our zone 4 conditions. I highly recommend it if you're looking for a pine to plant in your yard. So there you are. That's an overall look at my garden, and I'll give you a little bit of a panorama from this view. You can see, as I said earlier, that I try to have little garden rooms that you can stroll through the garden and find another place to sit and enjoy the view. Come outdoors and have your breakfast or your lunch. It's a very enjoyable space and very peaceful. So, thank you for watching, and until my next video, bye!